UFC Fight Night: Alexander Drago Volkov versus Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rozenstruik. Both fighters are looking to bounce back from defeats to Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades respectively, and in my opinion it'll be very interesting to see if Volkov decides to bulk up to 265 again like he has in previous fights to deal with Rozenstruik's power and just size in general. It will be interesting considering in his last fight against Tom Aspinall he dropped down to 255 pounds. I would assume that that was to just deal with Tom Aspinall's ridiculous speed and movement. For Rozenstruik, his power alone has shown that he's been able to compete against the best heavyweights in the world. However, as of yet, he hasn't been able to overcome the elites of the division, with losses to Ngannou, the champion, Cyril Gane, former interim champ, and Curtis Blades. And a win against Volkov would go a long way in helping him establish himself as one of the elites in the heavyweight division and one to watch out for. Now, for my prediction, I'm going with a second round knockout win for Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think Biggie Boy's going to take the center of the cage and just simply look to counter off Volkov's shots with huge power shots of his own. And I wouldn't be surprised if Volkov actually wins the first round, because he doesn't mind fighting at a long range and almost like a point fighting kind of style. And I think due to Rozenstruik's lack of movement, let's be honest, his spearing front kick to the body is going to be a huge weapon, and I think he's going to utilize it very well in this fight, especially in that first round. But by the second round, I just feel like Rozenstruik, especially with lots of striking experience, he's going to get Volkov's timing and distance, understand it a lot more, and as Volkov is coming in with one of his shots of his own, Rozenstruik's just going to land a flush right hand, huge one that's just going to put him down and potentially out for the count. Now for the co-main event, we have Dan 50k Ige versus Movsar Evloev. Ige trying to get back into the win column after back-to-back defeats to Josh Emmett and the Korean Zombie, and Movsar looking to keep his perfect undefeated 15-0 record intact and upgraded to 16-0, because that's what you want to do in fights, win. My prediction is that Evloev will win a pretty resounding decision. I think he's just going to push forwards, push the pace, put the pressure on Ige, grab a hold of him and pretty much maul him for the entirety of the 15 minutes. Ige, in my opinion, can become too hesitant at times, especially when his opponent has like a big weapon or a big advantage in a certain department. He can be quite negative in his approach going forwards, like in his last fight against Josh Emmett. Because Josh obviously has ridiculous power, he didn't engage as much and was more reserved and willing to stay back right out of range. And I don't want to be like one of those people saying like, oh, his ego's so bad, he's scared, he doesn't just walk straight through the punches and he's afraid to get hit and stuff like that. He is full within his own right to be wary of Josh Emmett's power, let alone with anyone else's power. But it's just my opinion when it comes to how these fights will go, basically. But I do think this will allow Movsar to just walk forwards and walk him down, basically. And considering, well, in my opinion again, he has a huge advantage in being able to mix up where the fight goes, whether on the ground or on the feet. I think it just gives Movsar a huge advantage in this fight. I wouldn't be that surprised if Movsar does get a submission win, but I do think that Dan Ige's heart, durability, and just toughness in general, in the nicest way possible, will help him make it to the final bell and take it to a decision, which again, I think Evloev will win